world was blissfully unaware of this creeping pandemic, when the WHO was dragging its feet on declaring the seriousness of the situation, we at WION brought you a series of reports on how the Chinese state is complicit in this outbreak. How Beijing tried to underplay the crisis, how it mishandled the situation, how the outbreak was first ignored by local officials, how whistleblowers in China were muzzled, and how the top leadership in China escaped scrutiny when the crisis peaked. The coronavirus today has crossed borders and spread around the world. The focus is shifting away from China as countries look to control the damage at home. But tonight we'll tell you why the focus should not shift. Why it is very important to keep the spotlight on China. Beijing is doing what it does best: hide the facts, twist the narrative, whitewash the problems, and evade scrutiny. What is the biggest headline coming out of China? Today's headline. It says this: China is defeating the virus. 11 temporary hospitals have been shut because they're no more needed. This is the narrative that China is pushing. It has deployed diplomats to take on critics. Don't call it the Wuhan virus, they say. Let me give you an example. This is what the Chinese ambassador to South Africa said earlier this month, and I'm quoting: although the epidemic first broke out in China, it did not necessarily mean that the virus originated from China, let alone made in China. What does this even mean? It is a made in China pandemic, and that is a fact. Here's another tweet. This one is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It says that China's response, listen to this carefully, China's response bought time for the rest of the world. Sure it did. China saved the world. Can you argue with that? We'll try. The quote-unquote Chinese response went something like this. First, they tried to hide the outbreak, and I'm not saying this, it's a matter of record. The first cases emerged in China way back in December, almost 3 months back. The government not only ignored the spread, the government of China punished the doctors who raised concerns. Within weeks, this virus spread through Wuhan and all over China. We've shown you multiple videos of the horror stories that followed. People were dragged from their homes to hospitals. Doctors ran out of supplies in China. 60% of China's medical workers were not even graduates. They were the ones treating the cases. The cases of coronavirus patients were hidden. China slammed countries that issued travel advisories, and soon enough, the virus traveled all over the world. Today, more than 127,000 cases have been reported. According to one estimate, this outbreak could cost the world economy $2.7 trillion. Another estimate says that there will be losses worth $3 trillion. Just so you know, there are 12 zeros in 1 trillion. And it's an awful lot of money. Why must the world pay for China's negligence? Why shouldn't China foot the bill? China is at the center of the global supply chains. It routinely mishandles epidemics. It hides the truth. Why should China be allowed to hold the world hostage? If there is one takeaway for the world from this crisis, it is this: create viable alternatives to China, help emerging economies to step in and fill the gap, switch suppliers. If leading companies across the world can ditch their Chinese contracts, Beijing will be forced to concede that it put the global economy at risk by ignoring a health crisis. The loss in business and the loss in trade deals will be the ultimate reparation to seek from China. Think about it.